Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly baseball show. Andrew Destin here with Jason Mackey, coming off of seventh loss in a row for the Pirates, but something bigger at stake there in that game, right? Henry Davis getting his MLB debut. Jason, just want to get into with you here about this news, right? Former number one overall pick getting promoted, catching prospect, and Pirates put him in right field. Sounds like that's the plan here moving forward. What do you make of this plan? What's kind of the vibe around what you're gathering from what the Pirates are looking to do here, and let's just get into it. What are you thinking about Henry getting the call up
Yeah.
after 10 days in AAA?
Yeah, they were a productive 10 days, right? A little bit. So I feel like there's two ways of looking at this. One, it looks wonky and disjointed. Like you have the number one overall pick, a kid who's a catcher, who could conceivably be your catcher of the future, who didn't get up to AAA very much, gets up there for 10 days, and you say, well, he's going to be our right fielder. Like that doesn't make any sense. At the same time, I look at this in a way that it actually does make sense because you look at the Pirates offense, and we're going to talk more about this, Andrew, and it stinks right now. And he's been their best hitter in the minor leagues. So you're saying, well, take everything else out of it. Take prospect status, positions, whatever. Like we're not hitting the ball. And so we're going to call up our best hitting prospect from the minor leagues and try to help us hit the ball. And really it's no more complicated than that, right? Like they need offensive help. Henry Davis represents offensive help. And so you basically say, we'll figure out the position stuff. We'll figure out the developmental stuff. He hasn't been, elite at catcher to a point where like, I'm not going to think about moving him. So we're going to take your bat. We're going to put it in the lineup. We're going to hope you do something and we can do enough in right field. That's the way I look at it. I do think there's a bigger conversation surrounding this team right now. And, can they get enough offensive help? Are they truly in trouble? Like what happens here? But that's all stuff we'll get into. What did you make of it?
I think not to be like, oh, this isn't that groundbreaking, but my first thought when I saw him, one, getting the extra reps in right field in Altoona, and then that progressed, continuing Indy, and now here with the debut yesterday, my thought immediately went to Kyle Schwarber with the Cubs, right?
Yep.
Like when he got called up, it was like, okay, yeah, he was this catching prospect, and everyone was fascinated because what if he's a catcher that can hit 40 home runs a year? And we know how that worked out. Schwarber made himself into a pretty consistent big leaguer, but it's not as a catcher. Now, that's not me to plant the seed that, Henry Davis will never be a catcher. But there was this urge with the Cubs then to get a bat into the lineup. The Pirates are doing that here with Davis at a time where it feels like, now you're 3 games below 500. You were, a week ago, you were sitting at first place in the NL Central in a pretty weak NL Central this year. I don't interpret it as being that big of a deal. And more so, the bat is big league ready. Maybe the defense behind the plate isn't. But if one component of your game is ready, and that's kind of something that's lacking with the Pirates, it's like, hey, get them up here. So I got no problem with it, and I don't view it as a problem, really.
No, you have a lot of people who are like screaming that say Henry Davis is the best catcher in this organization. Henry Davis is the future catcher. Henry Davis is this or that. How many times have you watched him play? Like this is the argument that I would make to people, and I did on this very show. Like I watched him with my own 2 eyes, which I mostly trust. I also like going to outside people who I think know a lot about the position. I think people watching this are also aware that I host a podcast of Michael McHenry called Pitching In. Michael McHenry is somebody I talk baseball with a lot. And I think somebody who's very bright about catching. And I've asked, like, Fort, what do you think compared to what am I seeing? And like his opinions are the same as mine. Like they're still raw defensively. And I mean Henry and Andy Rodriguez. Like it's what I said earlier. He's not elite at the position to the point where you can't consider moving him off. And it's just like Schwarber you're talking about. You want the bat. You need the bat. We're going to take the bat, and we'll figure out the catching stuff later. They're going to work with him up here and try to develop that. Cool. If that works out, then you've got great value at that position. But there's no guarantee it's going to work out. The Pirates can either do what they're doing now, or they can bury him in AAA and say, we're going to work on his defense. And then everybody's going to be angry about that and say, oh, you're manipulating his service time and Super 2 and this and that. And they're screwed either way. The Pirates can't win here. And that's not a defense of the Pirates, but it's to say, yes, the right move is to bring him up here and leverage what he can do. And you try to figure out the rest later.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it just kind of goes to the point of when there's two separate timelines like that, it makes things really tricky. And to try and balance that and say, okay, you're kind of doing a disservice to the guy and really the team at large if you say, yeah, we'll keep sitting him down in AAA, keep working on the defense. The bat is big league ready, which, arguably is the harder component to develop, or arguably is, the more gifted tool, whatever, however you want to phrase it. That's something special that Henry has. Specifically, if it's behind the plate, even if it's not projectable. I mean, you look at it, the guy can be a big league bat pretty much anywhere in a lineup. He's a guy that, we haven't even ruled out, hey, this guy could be a first baseman for a long time. We're saying the same thing about Endy, what he's doing in Indianapolis. So to me, I think it's kind of a moot point, and I think you're hitting all of it there, man. So it's but man, this offense needs help, doesn't it?
It does. It does. You know what else needs help? What is over your left shoulder?
This right
here. What do we got going on there?
That's Turn Blue, the Black Keys. That's an album that's my favorite album.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then right below it is the 2019 spring training pennant I got. Yeah, that's when I went to 6 spring training games in 3 days with my dad. That was a fun time.
Not a boy.
Yeah.
Not a boy. Okay, the Black Keys thing I did not catch right away. I thought you unfolded a handkerchief and threw it on your wall and decided to call that wall art or something.
The album cover, I was like, whenever that came out, 2011, I think. So it would have been 12 years old, and they give you the foldable album covers inside the CD. And I've hung that one up for a while. But yeah, okay. Good eyes, Jason.
I will never knock the Black Keys. I love the Black Keys as well. So
favorite band ever for me. Yeah.
Really?
They're my favorite all time. Yeah.
All right. Right. I want you to give me a Black Keys crash course then.
Oh,
maybe you're not going to be at the park tonight, but the next time we're together, I want Black Keys tips.
Always about sharing the love of the Akron, Ohio band.
That's right.
We love Ohio.
And Dan Auerbach is the main Black Keys guy, right?
Yep, and Patrick Carney on drums. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I know Auerbach is also a big John Prine guy, which links into my world a little bit more. So, yeah.
Look at that.
I could derail us on music very much, especially this week where I was able to combine my 2 favorite things on this planet, the Grateful Dead and baseball. And I was very proud of that. So I didn't intend to take this conversation there, but always big in favor of the music stuff.
You had to. That was a peak moment in Post-Gazette baseball coverage.
It really was.
Think of a better one.
Yeah. So a true story. A couple of years ago, there was Jacob Stallings and Nick Turley on the Pirates team. You might know this. Pirates fans probably are well aware of it. And so they look identical. And I'm like, I wonder if I can do a story on Jacob Stallings and Fake-Up Stallings. And we're calling them Fake-Up. And I'm like, all right, I'm going for this. I'm going to see if I can do it. And it reminded me of that, where I'm seeing these Grateful Dead shirts in the locker of Pirates relievers. And what the heck is going on? There's a story here. I need to find this story. And so I did, and it turned out really fun. And I was proud of that. But yes, this YouTube show isn't about my Grateful Dead story, but that was a lot of fun. So, okay, let me throw the ball back to you and get us back on track a little bit, Andrew. So we've got Henry Davis up. The offense still ain't scoring runs. What do they do? What are they going to do?
Give O'Neal Cruz a magical injection to get him back in the field tomorrow. I don't know, man. And I hate saying this because it feels redundant on my part, but in April when he went down, right, they weathered the storm for a little bit without Cruz. And it was like, oh, maybe this is sustainable. They'll be able to get by without him. I don't want to call it law of averages, but it felt like inevitable over time that you take a bat like that out of your lineup, especially a left-handed hitting bat. It's like, it just feels like every day in and day out, guys like Reynolds are doing their part. McCutcheon's doing his part at the top of the lineup. Santana's kind of got hot a little bit in that Milwaukee series, but you need just another bat. It's like we hear Shelton talk about getting that big hit, which, that's maybe a little cliche, but there's truth to it of you just need one more big bopper in the lineup. And they're really missing that presence right now. Marcano is holding it over for a little bit with what he was doing. He's cooled a little bit. Sawinski's in a little bit of a funk now, which we know how hot and cold he can be. I don't know, man. I just go back to O'Neal Cruz. That's where I stand, is just when you don't have that bat in the lineup, it becomes more and more apparent day in and day out. As more time goes by, we're seeing this lineup kind of reflect that. So I do not have an answer. I wish I could open up a bag of magic beans and say, here, grow them and you'll have a magic tree. I got nothing. I really don't know what you do with this offense.
The Sawinski stuff is baffling, and I have a greater point here, but you talking about Jack being on the skid sort of triggered something. I don't know if I've ever seen a player more streaky.
Yeah.
Like he was, oh my goodness, top of the world. I just looked this up, 924 OPS heading into Chicago. After that game, and he's gone over, it was 924 in the middle of that series, excuse me, and has gone 0 for 15 in the past 6 games, down to 864. Average went from 253, 233, whatever. Just like nothing. We're talking about Jack Sawinski being like a top 10 in Major League Baseball hitter, and forget about it. And I think that feeds into a greater problem with this team, Andrew, that there's just too much inconsistency, especially on the offensive end. Tucupita Marcano has looked good at various times and has then just disappeared. Rodolfo Castro has looked good at various times and has then just disappeared. You'd probably like more offense from Brian Reynolds. Like there's been, some hits and some consistency, but I don't think the power has been there that you sort of expected. Brian Hayes looked tremendous on this last homestand and really hasn't done anything since, at least in terms of driving the ball to the gaps and driving in runs and whatever. And so you go around. The Connor Joe was tremendous in April and really hasn't done anything since. And I'll leave the catching situation to another time or whatever. G1 Bay has been great and not good at all in various times. Like it's just the variance in the performance is really striking. And I think you sort of expect that from a young team, but I think the Pirates also, I would be willing to bet, expected to get a little bit more consistent production, especially adding some veterans. I think Carlos Santana, by and large, has been a little below what they thought they were going to get for that money. It's been disappointing to not get anything from G-Man Choi. I certainly don't think they expected that. But it's a bad combination of veterans that haven't quite lived up to what you would want, and also younger guys who are experiencing extreme, droughts and then like a little spurt of production and then droughts and then a spurt of production. You'd like that to level out a little bit.
Yeah, and it's all coming in culmination with a rotation that has become really banged up, inconsistent at times, and now turning to mixed bag of parts. I mean, Beto looked solid yesterday, but no offense to Oswaldo Beto, but shouldn't be up here right now in theory, right? You'd have guys ahead of you that you're thinking, okay, beginning of the year in April, you're set, you've got this rotation. Instead, you're turning down toward AAA, seeing the guys that you can turn to there. And then the lineup, like you mentioned, it's just across the board guys who are inconsistent. And it feels like a lot of problems, and I think I made this point a couple of weeks ago in the pod, that it feels like a lot of problems coming together at the same time, and that's a bad recipe, right? It's not good when your hitting's not consistent and the pitching depth is, it's injured, it's inconsistent, it's a bullpen is a shell of what it was at the beginning of the year, or let alone 2 weeks ago with no Colin Holderman. It's like it just feels across the board like this is a really difficult spot, and I don't know how you get out of this. I don't know how you right the ship.
I don't either. I really don't, Andrew. And I'm sure you're in the same boat as me. Like you get asked for answers a lot and what's going to happen. I don't know if I have any great, I don't have any great solution. The pitching depth is basically thinned out. Like if they have another injury and need to make another call to Indianapolis, you can call Quinn Priester. There's no guarantee it's going to be elite. I think it's going to be very good. Like I think Priester is going to get up here eventually, but I mean, you're basically counting on a kid who's not had a full season yet at AAA to come up here and dominate. Like that's a little bit of an ask, and he's been still inconsistent in AAA. But beyond Priester, who do you have? You're going to hope that Jared Jones fast tracks it. Solomito just got the AA. I'm not sure that's a realistic expectation. Kyle Nicholas, I don't think is going to blow anybody's socks off. I think eventually he'll get there, but it's just it's tough to see where it goes from here. Now, that's not to say I don't think the Pirates should try. I look at guys in AAA, and if they're not getting it done at the major league level, why don't they bring up Nick Gonzalez or Andy Rodriguez or Jared Triolo or whomever, give anybody a chance. But I just think that, and look, we can step back, and this is probably something that a lot of people thought this season was going to look like. They're going to show some promise. They're going to tease. I would argue that they have. And then they're going to wear down, peter out because of their lack of depth, which I think is we're seeing that happen. They're just not deep enough to weather injuries, poor performance, all that stuff you incur over the course of a baseball season. And, they've actually used a relatively small number of starters, and you're probably bound to have to dip into there more. And that just scares the crap out of me when I think about, is Kent Emanuel going to be making starts? Like, nothing against poor Kent Emanuel. It's just like that's not ideal for the major league club right now.
Right. That's the situation. And it's, you can look across the board, right? Is it the rotation? Are you going to a Kent Emanuel? Are you maybe hurrying Priester quicker than you'd like to? Or is it the guys in the lineup? And all those guys, you mentioned a Triolo, a Gonzalez, all these guys, like, there's a reason that they're still in AAA for different reasons, right? Like, maybe with Triolo, the power hasn't quite gotten there where they want it to, while the defense is there. Gonzalez, the swing and miss is maybe still a little bit too prevalent with him. Endy, I think it's like 4 extra base hits this month, something like that, all doubles, like across the board. Nobody, like, guys, I think this is something that I've learned. It's only my first year here, but like, something I'm learning is that maybe there's not quite the grasp of, like, why are guys still in AAA? It's not always just necessarily manipulate service time or Super 2 or whatever people want to throw out there. It's like, maybe guys just aren't quite ready yet, and that's why the Pirates are in this current predicament, is that there's some players who are sitting there that, yes, they're highly regarded prospects. Yes, they're guys they want to get up here, but maybe they're just not ready yet. And that's what makes this time so
That's
difficult.
not okay, though, Andrew.
No, it's not. I'm learning. It's quite not all right.
Here's where that stems from. And I made a mistake last night telling the fan base, not telling, but, my tweet about Austin Hedges, like, sort of directing people whether they should boo or not. People should boo and feel however they want. But this is my interpretation of how Pirates fans feel about prospects in AAA and just young guys in general. This is a fan base that is just so ready and yearning and dying for this team to just win and be good. And they want hope, and, they want guys to get here. And I understand that. These guys are fun players. They've got, I think, a lot of Henry Davis. I think a lot of Endy Rodriguez. I think they're going to be very good. And I like what the Pirates are doing, bringing Henry up. I hope Endy gets hot and they do the same thing with him. But sometimes you're right. Sometimes guys do need a little bit more. They do need some time. It is better to let them continue their development. Like, AAA exists for a reason. There are lessons to be learned. I think Quinn Priester is seeing it. I think Quinn Priester has become a markedly better pitcher in June than he was in April because of some of the crap that he went through. Like, that's just natural. It's okay. But here it's like, all right, come on, let's go. Come on, we gotta go. It's like, 4-year-old looking to go to an amusement park. Like, I understand it. But, like, sometimes we just need to get some things in order. So anyway, I also love this fan base, and I think that they're, the fact that they're still passionate over the Pirates after all these years and all these heartbreaks just says everything you need to know about baseball fans here. But it's an interesting dynamic with them wanting to see guys from AAA come up.
Well, I'm more interested. It felt like you were tipping your hand at making a Kennywood trip, saying you need to take a 4-year-old to the amusement park.
Oh no, sir.
Yeah, still on the bucket list for me, but yeah, it's I give credit where it's due. I mean, you had 23,000 people come out last night for Henry. Fans want the team to be good. They want to be there to support him. It's not. I'm with you. I don't think that's ever the question. It's more just a matter of, how do we balance this? What are the expectations? What are realistic? And maybe that 28 month of April really tipped things in the direction of giving people optimism.
One of these days, Andrew, we need to have a discussion about other things about Pittsburgh that you don't understand. And for perfectly valid reason. Like, I love hearing about people who are from not here and what they learn about Pittsburgh. It's funny. So, not true story. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I have yet to go to Eaton Park yet, and Alex Stumpf brought that up yesterday, so that's also on the bucket list.
All right. We need to plan it, because Patrick Kurish, the Pirates media guy, is in the same boat. We had this conversation not long ago that he is from Arizona and has never been to an Eaton Park. So we need to fix that. We need to fix that.
That sounds like a group trip right there.
And Andrew, it's also right in your wheelhouse. Like, people watching and listening to this need to understand how healthy Andrew eats, and he will pack his own lunch at PNC Park, and it is nothing but like fruit and vegetables, and the healthiest thing things imaginable. We live together in Florida. He goes to the grocery store and comes back with like just the most like food pyramid appropriate groceries one person can buy. And so we need to get you in front of the Eaton Park salad bar, my man, and you can do some damage. You
Okay.
can absolutely. I just said that like a Yinzer too. So you can do some damage, but I can't wait. We got to get we got to get you to Eaton Park.
Okay. That's
What else? What else about Pittsburgh?
Oh man, you got me laughing good. This is real good. I got told that this one might be. I don't know if this is up your wheelhouse or not, but Noah Hiles brought up the New Brighton hot dog shop. I haven't been there yet. Is that something you're familiar? Okay.
Yeah, enough. I
Okay.
don't know if I put that on my bucket, my list of like Pittsburgh things that are weird that out of towners don't necessarily understand. But
Okay. Yeah. I've done the Permanis. I've done that correctly too. Doing whatever sandwiches I get. Do the pastrami, not the burger. Like I've enjoyed Permanis. I had that in state college, so that one I at least had some familiarity with. But I'm trying to think other Pittsburgh things.
What about driving around here? Does it make sense at all?
Actually, yes to me. I'm okay with it because San Francisco does give me good practice with that of like driving in tight, kind of crazy cities and streets. So
yeah, but they label things there.
Yeah, that's true. Here, the only thing that messes with me is like the streets that run parallel to the river. Like I'm trying to think of like Route 28. That to me is still a fascinating thing where you get off like in the North Shore and you're like, okay, here's 7 different ways you can go. Like that's that's still very interesting to me how that kind of winds.
Yes,
driving's not horrible. Could be worse. Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
As somebody who's from here, and I love this place with all of my heart, but it is a very unique place. We do a lot of things that don't make sense, and that's okay. And one of them is enunciate. We don't do that much. I think I've done the Yinzer accent on here, but.
Oh yeah, you got me into a fits of laughter last time.
That's right. Now I remember. All right, should we go back to baseball talk? Let's go back to baseball talk. What do we got?
Yeah, dude. What you got for me? You got any questions?
I think we've exhausted the stuff with the major league team. Frankly, I think we should probably get into some prospect stuff. We've had a few promotions that I think are notable, and I think Pirates fans should probably understand. One of them involves a guy you're going out to see today, Anthony Solomedo. So I've seen Solo pitch a little bit. We've both talked to him. I like him a lot. Talking about a funky lefty who throws 95 with a lot of deception and whatever. So you're going out to see him today. What's your angle? What do you want to know about Solo and where's he at right now?
I'm curious on a number of different things. I feel like I go into these kind of things where I'm talking to prospects and I have like 5 different things I'm curious about. So I'm curious to see like how's the development going with the repertoire, because the last time we talked, he had mentioned how the changeup was something that he had gone away from for a while, and then slider was becoming his number 1 strike pitch. Last we had chatted, he'd only used the changeup in 3 starts, and it was helping him. I'm curious how much that's playing into things now. I want to ask him about the development of the delivery. Last we chatted, there was 2 huge adjustments he was working on, and where his arm slot was, as well as keeping his back heel towed to the rubber before he was, launching off to deliver. I'm curious how that development's kind of going. And I'm also just curious in general, like away from the mechanics, like, and the baseball specifics, like how's he feeling about getting moved this quickly and kind of succeeding? Yep. He has not really struggled at any juncture in his time in the Pirates Oregon. It's he's 20 years old, a little bit over a year and a half of experience, with last year, I think it was in Bradenton, and then this year, Greensboro and Altoona. Like, how do you grasp that? Because everybody keeps talking about, I know Ben Cherington's talked about his maturity. John Baker said something similar a little bit over a month ago. Like, just kind of curious to see, like, where's his head at? How do you kind of come to terms with this? How do you kind of keep it all together? So I for the one time I talked with him, think really highly of him, think he's a really bright, mature kid, and just kind of saying, hey, you're in AA. You're 2 steps away from the show. Like, how do you come to terms with this at 20 years old? That's a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I would be curious, and not to tell you how to do your job, but
no, please.
Like, I love his personality. It's so fun, man. Like, it's such a baseball thing where he's on the mound and he's a competitor and he's serious when he has to be. When he's not pitching, he's a character. He's a lot of fun. Like, I don't know if you've talked to him about the Steelers yet, but that'll get some takes.
Okay.
He grew up a Steelers fan and has an interesting view on that. He, Bubba Chandler, and Henry lived together for a period. I remember writing and talking about that, which after seeing Henry yesterday and then seeing the way Solo and Bubba are, that had to be interesting. Because Henry is like team serious all the time, meets with the media yesterday. What was it, 4 hours before first pitch? And it looked like he was walking to the plate for his first at bat. Like he, in the nicest way possible, because I like Henry, I like his family. It's not a criticism. And I said the same thing to him, but to them, like he wasn't there for the media stuff yesterday, man.
Oh.
He was focused on business. Totally understandable. But yeah, it's funny to me that like Solo, Bubba Chandler, and Henry Davis all lived together at one point. But yeah, I agree with you that with Solo being 20, young guy for AA, but also has a maturity and frankly deserves to be there in his pitch. I mean, it's not crazy to think that he can get to AAA this year. If he keeps, I'm gonna let him stay where he is, and use that also as a point to transition to somebody else I want to talk about who could make that jump. But really, really impressive with Solomito. I'll be interested to see what you get from the questions and the curious topics you were talking about. But Jared Jones, the last one I'll go with, Andrew, because I think that's fairly newsy. Happened while the Pirates were in Milwaukee. He gets promoted to AAA. Not at all surprised by it. I've been saying since the beginning of this, like if there's somebody that can get on the Luis Ortiz plan, and what I mean by that is like jump several levels and get into the big leagues, Jared Jones is my pick. Man, electric stuff, 4 legitimate pitches. I don't see why it can't happen. He's tore up AA. We'll see how he adjusts to AAA. But man, when you're throwing 100, 2 breaking balls, a changeup that you can actually use, I like his demeanor on the mound. He's got a nice edge to him. Just curious how it plays in AAA for him.
Yeah, especially you bring up that changeup. That's something that he was worked on at the beginning of the year and was like, not really throwing all that often. It was something that wasn't really part of the repertoire. Now it is, and this could have even been quicker if not for the back spasms that I think had him out for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Like he was grooving in AA, and this could have even come quicker. So like Jared Jones is a fascinating guy. I mean, just in the sense of, hey, former two-way player, there's so much potential there just because it's still a guy who's relatively new to being a pitcher only, right? Like this is somebody who has so much left in the tank, and yeah, throwing 100, that's gotta take that seriously. So I'm very curious. Very curious to see how he does in Indy because there's a lot there, and he's a fascinating prospect. Yeah.
All right. It's a good debriefing, sir.
Yeah. Pleasure as always, Jason. I guess that does it for us here, and I'm going to hit the road and head to Altoona pretty soon in our recap of Bucco's baseball. And that's all today for the YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the like button and stay updated with our latest content. If you haven't already, check out our subscription deal in the description. $6, 6 months of access. Plenty of sports news to keep up with. Don't want to miss it. It was a pleasure, man. Catch you next time.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed it on Apple Podcasts, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. For 6 months of digital access to post-gazette.com for just $6, click the link down in the description.